Dead Island. It's a good game. It's zombie game. It's I don't know what I like more, this or Resident Evil, because I've always liked zombies, obviously. I definitely got into Resident Evil first. But obviously that's like the most premier zombie game you could ever think of. There's a lot of zombie games out there, but and it's so funny how different this is too, because this game has charm. It's so cool. I was thinking of it earlier when I was watching something. They're talking about Lost, like a documentary about the 2010s or 2000s, and it made me think of Dead Island. Like we got some footage for this recently. I replayed this a while ago. Just forgot to make a video on it. But I played this on the PS3 years ago. And Riptide and Dead Island 2. And then there's obviously the competitor Dying Light. Never messed with that at all. More Team Dead Island. But this game was so... you think of Lost and you think of islands. I'm from an island. But I don't really remember much of it because I was only 1 year old. Before I moved, never came back. It's just, you think of paradise and an oasis and getting away and vacations and traveling and some stuff I've never done. And this game is so ironic because you go take this vacation to this beautiful island, something I've always only ever saw through screens, but it's not a disaster movie, it's not... there's so much content here to think of so many other things. It's not just a zombie game, it's not just... it's so innovative and creative and distinctive and unique and special because it's on an island and it's not a typical, oh, we're in a city or blah blah blah. Everything Resident Evil has done, they've never done really anything like this. They've done Death Island, if that counts, Alcatraz, but it's not really quite the same thing. The movie, the CG movie. But this game alone just makes you think of so many good things. House of the Dead. Pretty much any horror movie that's based on an island. Club Dread. It's just so fun. Like, I'll admit, replaying it again recently, like, the graphics are really dated. It's kind of rough. There's not really any motion blur per se, but those frames... yeah, I don't know. It's tough. But it's so good and so classic. It's very rare to even bother to play a game like this that is as old as it is, because I know I'm gonna suffer through like quality of life and just kind of jankiness, and but that's kind of the weird charm of this game. It's like the way you think of Skyrim, how yes, it's buggy and, you know, glitchy, and but there's a weird heart there. And Dead Island 2 is great. It took a long time to come out. I'm gonna do Riptide to replay that again at some point, but I'm not as worried about that one. But like 2 really took what Dead Island did and made it so much more modern, and everything just felt good, looked good. Like, this game it's so classic and so good, and it's actually on an island, unlike Dead Island 2, and there's nothing like that first area, and it's so good. Like, I was struggling, but it was so worth it, and it's not often I'll say that. And it's funny because someone recently told me they didn't like Dead Island 2 when I was playing this, and I was like, dude, you're crazy, man. Dead Island 2, it's Dead Island, man. No matter how you want to think about it, I don't care if it's a sequel or a prequel or a reboot or a remake or a remaster. It is what it is. It's an IP, it's a brand, it's a logo, it's a company, it's a title, it's like all these things. And there's nothing like making a makeshift weapon, do it yourself, and just killing zombies nonchalantly and running through this. It's like the M. Night Shyamalan movie, the Getting Old one. Like, islands are so mysterious and so isolated, and so you're not in civilization, you're not on a continent, you're not around people and society, and an island can really be its own contained little thing, and that's what makes it so good, is because it's like this zombie outbreak. Oh, we're gonna go on vacation, let's go to Hawaii. Next thing you know, it's just all hell breaks loose, and it's really dark, but that's what makes it so twisted and so comically fun and horrific, is like this contrast and between this very light, bright, sunny, but yet gruesome, bloody, violent setting, and just the characters are great. All the NPCs, they have so much personality, and like all the different areas and the people you talk to, the quests, the things you do. It really is an adventure and a quest, and there's a beginning, middle, and end, and there's a whole like, hey, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get off this island, but you feel so hopeless too, because you can't just get up and leave. Like, obviously, sure, there should be boats, there should be helicopters, all these things that would normally be like in real life, and if this actually happened, obviously there'd be a lot more protocols, but sometimes it just doesn't really work that way, and this whole game just paints a picture visually, and really it's so immersive, and it puts you in there as first person. Like, what would this be like? And this is just another game or movie or any sort of zombie material that, you know, if this did happen, I have some experience from a video game. Like, I would actually probably know somewhat of what to do, or have an idea, like maybe not 100% realistically, but just the concept of it. Like, if I ever get stranded out here, and it's funny too, because it is one of those many things that the only unfortunate downside to it is, like, it is intimidating, and you know, the world out there might be a scary place, but you really won't know that until you actually go out there and experience it for yourself. But all these movies and shows kind of keep you contained inside your house and your room, but video games are an escape, and they are a way to kind of live in someone else's shoes and be in this other place and have this other life and do these other things. And there's nothing quite like this, where, you know, yeah, it's all very... It gets a little weird toward, like, the first quarter of it is so good, and then it does kind of die down from there, unfortunately, but it still holds that same vibe, and but I don't know. The game's good enough where even all its bad stuff, it's not too hard to kind of look past all that and just kind of see it for what it is and accept it and move on and finish what you started, complete it. Because when I replay this, man, it was rough. Like, especially that first day, just getting used to the graphics again and learning how to play again and what to do, but there obviously was that sense of nostalgia, and I just knew I was in for a ride. Whether I 100% enjoyed it or not wasn't really the issue. It was more just I was happy to be there and to play this at all and be included and participate and do whatever it is that this game is wanting you to do. Cutscenes are good.
Name's John Sinnemoy. I'm the head lifeguard here. Voice on the radio told me you were in trouble at the hotel. Said you were resistant to whatever this is. I didn't believe it. Then I found you and I saw the bite marks. You got no symptoms, but those aren't love bites, are they?
Yeah, some other bad things is... Man, I don't know, like, it's obviously not the same thing playing it on the PS3 and your older TV and just older technology, and that's how I see a lot of things nowadays, is like, things just are not the same. When if you're trying to chase that magic dragon, it's gone. Like, unless you get an older TV and play on that native console and really experience that all over again, it still doesn't help when you look around and reality hits you right back in the face again. And it's just playing this older game, better port on a next-gen console, on a good monitor, all these things, it just still doesn't... I don't know, like, thank God Dead Island 2 did come out, because, man... And it really did help bring Dead Island back. It disappeared for so long, and it was such a shame that it was kind of a one-off. Riptide, I just basically look at like a big DLC, really, but yeah, I don't know, just when you're trying to swing your weapon, it's just, I can't see anything. I can't look, and there's obviously a very specific field of view and depth, and I mean, you're kind of swinging all over the place. It is realistic in a way where that's probably somewhat similar to what it would be like to, you know, try to kill a zombie with a machete or something. Let alone a machete with, like, electricity attached to it through conductors and batteries and... But man, it was... Just, the game is such a struggle. Like, back then, obviously, you look past it, you were younger, there wasn't really much you could do about it, but nowadays it's tough when you could literally just play any other game instantly, and it's just a whole different thing. Dead Island 2. So yeah, the combat's just messy, it's muddy, it's chaotic, it's definitely playable and doable, sure, but just barely. And when you're driving cars, you can literally see like this much. You don't know where you're going. It takes some skill to get used to the game and to get around it all and to get past whatever it is that you need to, and I don't know. And then some more stuff is like, it's kind of the same gripe I have with Doom. You're constantly healing, you're constantly grabbing weapons, you're constantly going through them, you're constantly fixing stuff and repairing things and upgrading and using your skill points and accepting quests and going from here to there, fast traveling, walking, running, killing zombies left and right. It just doesn't ever really stop. Like, you don't ever have a whole lot of room to breathe or relax or kind of refocus or recenter. Take a break. I mean, you do when you go to the safe houses, the bases, the hub, the little areas, but it really is just go, go, go. Get that next mission done. Let's get this over with. Let's get the hell off this island. It's the whole mindset of like, you know, we got shit to do, man. We can't just sit here and survive and hope to like last on this island. You really kind of feel that. Like, not only was I in a rush just to get the game done in general, but it was tough, and it kind of dragged on. Like, towards the end, I was like, dude, when are we getting out of here, man? Why is this still going? Because it's been so long that I just don't remember every little thing, but you'd be surprised how long the game can last. And the issue I did, which I wouldn't make that mistake if I, for some reason, wanted to play it again, like pick a different character or something, but, you know, time management is... You just gotta go. Because everything scales up to your level, so one thing I like to do is be a step ahead, get a little bit stronger, grind a little bit, do a little bit extra, you know, get that tiny bit further, just so I can have kind of like a an advantage there somewhere along the way and make things easier on me and get better weapons and fill out that skill tree. And but in this game it's frustrating because like there's no matter what you do, you never, other than using different weapons and better weapons, and nothing really changes. The skill tree is very, you know, a lot of those, it's one of those games where a lot of that stuff that you're using your XP levels to gain, that should have just been there in the first place. It's just the tedious, littlest, tiny, stupid, dumb things. And it's shitty because, like, okay, you're getting the experience of going through the game, but ultimately you don't feel like stronger or bigger or better or faster. It's just kind of this, you know, I hate it when you spend X amount of time in a game and it still doesn't feel like you've gotten anywhere past day one. It's like nothing's changed, nothing's happened. You're still in that same spot that you were the day before, and that just, like, to me that doesn't make sense progress wise. Like, even if this was compared to real life, you would be getting better, you'd be knowing more, you'd be having this zombie slayer. That's what they label these guys as. And in the long run, things don't ever really quite get there because just the way their system is, like, it's so stuck in place. Which is a shame because it's such a fun, cool game, and I love how gimmicky it is and silly, and like all the bosses and the designs and the enemy types, and it doesn't take itself seriously, and it's ridiculous, and the delimbing, I mean, yeah, you do feel some sense of, like, I am getting better later on, halfway through, whatever, but I don't know, I guess they're not, I mean, it's pretty obvious they're not as focused on that versus, like, hey, just take it all in, enjoy the environment you're in. You never know what next weapon you'll get, what blueprint you'll find to get your upgrade, what kind of next crazy weird little mission you'll get, or who this next person you'll meet. Like how much it can escalate throughout, because there's only so much to work with that obviously it has to kind of be going somewhere. And it does open up a lot more into the fact that it's not just a zombie survival game on an island, like there is more to it, and it's nice that they do implement that. I didn't even remember that. Like the most recent thing, I only thought that was in Dead Island 2. Kind of the more personal side of like what's happening to your character and what you're going through, and it's actually a lot deeper than you think, which is kind of nice. It's just Dead Island did everything. I don't know about nowadays. Look, you know, it wasn't a great playthrough by any means, but if I enjoyed it back then, there's no reason why I'd enjoy it now. And those are kind of the only games I really played like that. Is if it was in my life back then in the day where things were much more selective, you were younger, you didn't know what you were doing or playing, but it came to you for a reason. Like, it's not all coincidence, and you played those games for a reason. And those are games that helped shape who you are and identified you and made you into who you are today, and all these things. And I was really proud to have played Dead Island back then. There's probably a lot of people that still just haven't played it, or it is a much more underrated game and community, and it's never gonna be this mainstream like RE type thing, but that's fine. I like it where it is and keep it where it is, and it's perfect where it is. And I mean, if they ever did an actual remaster or remake, that would be really cool. That's what I think they should have done, honestly, instead of the sequel. And I hate to be that guy and go there because it's like, you know what, dude, good stuff, new sequels are good. I have no problem with those. Like, if it's something I like, I'll like it again. It's as simple as that, but it's just you can't beat this originality in this because the theme of it all just is so very vibrant and very poppy and very open and inviting and engaging. Gameplay is good. Yeah, I usually don't try to give too much of that away, but this is definitely not a typical game. It's not just kind of a skin of another zombie game, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize is that it is very unique. It's just, you know, another innovative zombie game I can think of is like Dead Rising. I wouldn't say so much all the games, but especially the first one. Like, you're in a mall, it's very George Romero, it's very crafty and using the things around you and the outfits and the weapons and it's just, I love it when, because zombies are so saturated and flooded, and that when you come across games like this, it really stands out because it's not Call of Duty Zombies, it's not Zombie Army, it's not all these little indie games you run into, it's not these kind of knockoffs or generic bootlegs of RE, it's not the amount of RE games. It's its own thing and its own individual kind of piece of this project of all these different things crammed into one. It's so good. There's not much more else to it. I don't know. I look at it like this is 75% good and the 25% is just kind of the jankiness of it all. But that does go hand in hand with what makes the game come together in its own weird, fucked up ways. It's silly, and you know, you think of like comedy horror and Shaun of the Dead or something like that, and it's just so goofy. It's very ragdolly, and but it's just cool because it's that comedic horror meets 20 days later. Like, there's zombies like on your ass, and you gotta be quick on your feet. This definitely isn't a game to just sleep on or play when you're tired or like. And that's another annoyance I guess I do have, is that kind of like Dead Rising as well, or just these very horde-like zombie games where like these guys just won't leave you alone, man. Everywhere you go, there's a goddamn zombie there. It's just annoying. Like, can I go 5 minutes without having to kill something? And sure, once you get good enough running around, you can run past them and just get to where you want to go, but when I'm trying to pick up money and weapon, like, that's where that's one thing I wish I didn't do this time around, was waste so much time just. That's supposed to be the reward of the game too, is killing these zombies and using your weapons. And oh yeah, another bad thing was the gunplay. The gunplay is so bad, and they obviously don't favor guns as much as melee. But I'm really glad there was guns in it, because that obviously you can't have a zombie game without guns. It's just weird. The fact that it's mostly melee based is fine. But like, why even put the guns in it, man? I'm trying to aim at them, and it's like, there's not necessarily an auto aim or an aim assist or anything like that per se. You can't turn it off if there is one. It's just the guns are really bad. You're trying to shoot the heads of the humans that are attacking you. And honestly, I wish that's another thing. I wish there wasn't humans in it. It's a lot of Last of Us does the same thing. Just fucking make it zombies only, man. Like Alien Isolation did the same thing. There's human enemies. Like, just let us worry about the main enemy here, dude. We don't need to be shooting each other. Let's just come together. We have a common foe. Friends for now, an alliance. Come work as a team. God, the guns was so bad, man, and they do the most damage to you too. And using the guns against the zombies half the time was like, it's basically melee, zombies, guns, humans, and it just really broke up the gameplay, the flow of it, because it kind of just, it made it so like, it's so hard just to get a headshot, let alone a body shot, because the gun's swaying like freaking crazy, dude. Like there's some giant wind in there or something. Ugh. I actually probably preferred the guns in Dead Island 2 because the gunplay was actually good, and it still wasn't his favorite. They still stuck to their formula, but thankfully, that's why I hate it when homies said they didn't like Dead Island 2 because like they carried over everything. It's just modern graphics, modern controls. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, Dead Island itself is a classic, but to completely put aside Dead Island 2, if anything, Dead Island 2 helped this game come back out of the dark and come back into the light and the shadows and revive Dead Island. You should be thanking Dead Island 2. Because you're like, oh yeah, Dead Island 1 exists, duh. And it's just, you got Dead in there and Island. It's so simple but effective and good, and the title and the artwork and the covers of the games and the style and like everything just hits. There's, when you have 1,000 reasons to like something and only 5 to not like it, it's kind of hard to like ignore and put aside, and it was totally worth the replay too. And there's very few games that are, there's always these next gen versions of all these old ass games, but they're still like really bad. I'm almost glad they didn't do that with this game, because like they did a PS4 version of it, sure, but it was, I mean, it wasn't really like a giant leap or anything. The game still looked good, like the graphics look pretty damn good, really, when you weren't moving around. If you're just standing stationary, you're like, damn. And it was weird when I played it again recently. I was like, this is a really unique field of view. Like, it was just perfect. It wasn't too zoomed in, you weren't too far away. Like, everything you looked at all the time was just, it really did feel like it was right there. And I don't know, they were really good at choosing that kind of measurement of how you were perceiving the environment. But yeah, shit, if I wouldn't really say remaster, but a remake of this would be so good. Oh my god. I'm just picturing it basically turning out kind of like the remakes of Resident Evil, and it's like, oh, that'd be so good. I would get that instantly. After playing this shit, like, you bet your ass. I'm trying really hard to praise the game, but I can't like, the things that did make it shitty were pretty bad. Because nothing should ever, you shouldn't have to settle for like, oh, it's manageable, you can get by. Like, things really shouldn't be that way, man, especially if they're still selling games, even for cheap, that were made, fuck, how many years ago? I don't know, man, like, do something to, like, you know, and upscaling isn't always gonna be enough. Like, do something to really just improve on the game and make it better and more playable. And because it's a shame when you have such a good thing and it just kind of constantly takes a shit on you, and I don't know. But yeah, Dead Island, man. Yeah, man. You're making me crazy, man.